Hey, this is John from Time, and I'm gonna run through my live rig. Start off with the guitars. So I've been a Gibson dude forever, so I run it's a Gibson standard, swapped out some knobs. It has that weird push-pull thing in there, which I don't particularly like, but that's sort of the new thing that Gibson's doing these days. I wanna say this is a 2013, but yeah, I mean, it's sick, it's heavy. I've been a Gibson fan pretty much my entire musical life. The first guitar I bought myself with money was a 78 Les Paul, which I still have, which I didn't bring with me today. It's sort of my backup to the backup. But yeah, this thing rips. It's like I said, it's heavy, it's chunky, the neck is humongous, and I've always liked that. It's got the locking tuners, and yeah, it's just a good sounding guitar and it looks cool. Second guy we have over here is a 78 Fender Telecaster. It's a bit of a parts caster at this point in time. I kind of zombied it out. Didn't like the wiring that was in with the wiring harness that it had. And I swapped out the neck. So this now also has a push-pull, which I didn't ask for when I had it rewired. That was a nice little present that they threw in there. Swapped out the original pickups that were in here. This is the original still, but don't really ever use it. And this is just one of your typical Seymour Duncan hot rails that fits in a Tele. I mean, it's super cool. It's also pretty heavy. The neck that I put on here is a refurbed, refinished, late 70s Jazzmaster neck. And similar to the Les Paul, it's humongous. It's massive. You can feel that you're playing a guitar. I really like rosewood necks on Fender guitars, so it's great. It's unfinished. It's got some. Pretty beat up at this point in time, but yeah, it's the backup to this guy. I play it 1-2 songs within the set that we play, but between the two for recording, that's pretty much the standard setup that I use. And yeah, they're cool. Jump over to my amp rig. So this is a late 70s, I want to say it's a 78 or 79 super lead. So your standard kind of plexi JMP. It's loud as all living hell. If I turned it all the way up and pointed at a window, I could probably break a window or try and knock a plane out of the sky. Tasteless joke, but yeah, it is ludicrously loud. Great bass for pedal development, but also if you just go straight into it and kind of toy with the channels, you can pull together a pretty perfect gain and kind of two-stage gain setup, which is pretty much what I do for the way that we play. It sounds great, it's massive. And this is I want to say it's a mid to late 90s 4x12 Marshall. It's got Celestian greenbacks in it. I've never replaced anything in it. The only thing I've done is replace the grill cloth because the other one was beat to shit and had spray paint and dirt and everything you could think of all over it. Has seen some touring, has seen a couple different countries, both with I think Blacklisted, No Roses, handful of bands that me and friends of mine have been in that it's kind of seen the world with, so it's been around the block. But yeah, I love this thing. I'm not a big trader of gear or kind of selling things that I have, so the stuff that I have is stuff that I've had for a really long time and kind of held on to. When I'm not using this, so if we're looking and we're playing at a smaller venue or somewhere where I just don't feel like carrying 300 pounds of amp around, I run a JCM 800 212, I think it's a 2204 from the early 80s, which again, similar sound, a little less cumbersome to take around with you. So pretty loyal to the Marshall. And from there we jump into the pedals. So this is sort of a mixed bag. I kind of flip-flop a lot of stuff in here, depending kind of how I'm feeling or depending on what we're doing. We actually just got back from a session up at God City Studios in Salem with Kurt Ballou, so this and this wouldn't usually be on there, but we were kind of toying around with stuff. But yeah, I'll just kind of run through this and give you a feel for what I'm thinking on that front. Signal chain wise, I get weird with that. I don't like just running pedal into pedal just to run a pedal into a pedal, so I spend a lot of time making sure that my gain stages are good, and then I like the way gain signal runs into some of the modulation stuff, and then getting into like your delays, your trems. It's just really, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir in terms of gear, but getting that right can go a long way to making you really like your setup or really absolutely hate your setup, depending on what you're playing. So I run straight into Boss Tuner, which I think everyone on earth has. And then from there, I drop into this JHS Moonshine, which is just a very simple overdrive circuit. I would say it's similar to like a Ibanez TS9 Tube Screamer, or when you get into like the Blues Driver, like the Boss Blues Driver sounds. Really nice sort of starting layer of gain off of a already kind of broken up amp or a clean amp. So it's a good kind of starting point. From there, I run into a Plumes, which is kind of just another distortion pedal. I would also liken it to a TS9. I believe they're effectively the same circuit with some mods that you can toggle depending on what you're doing here, but that's sort of the second stage. So Moonshine's always on, and then I'll jump over to the Plumes to either boost for louder stuff, or if I'm gonna do a solo, which doesn't really happen with this band, it's more just kind of noodly noises. From there into this Jam, I think it's called a Retro Vibe. This is one of my favorite pieces of equipment that I've ever bought, or at least have bought in the last several months to years. It's a vibrato chorus pedal. You can toggle back and forth, but it's, I've always really liked univibe pedals, and I've never really found one that I thought did what I wanted it to do, which was be super squishy sounding. I don't know if that makes sense, but this lets you get really squishy with the chorus and really kind of swirly and warbly with the chorus. And then you can jump over to the vibrato, which gives you that sort of pulsing, also can be swirly and really deep, but it's a really kind of nice, it sits in a mix really well. From there, we run over to the Carbon Copy. So this is pretty much your kind of typical delay, analog delay pedal. I love this thing. Again, it's one of those things where it can go super low key, keep you to a really tight plate or room reverb, or a really small, tight spring reverb, all the way out to, I think it has like a 30-second clip on it or something like that. It gives you a long delay, but again, lets you do super deep and super kind of way out there delays and really kind of tight in. From there, we jump into this trem pedal, which I don't really use all that much with the exception of one or two songs here and there, but it's your standard tremolo, wop, 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 wop. It's a nice pedal though. This guy, again, this is one of the ones that isn't always on there. It runs off of a separate power supply. It's old. I want to say this is a late 70s poly chorus. I got it because it was like the Nirvana chorus, but it has a flanger, something called double track, and then a kind of an envelope filter matrix, which I don't use. But this is that sort of like radio-friendly unit shifter, squeal, scream type thing. But it also lets you do, similar to some of what you get from this, the kind of really tight, nice, crisp chorus kind of things. And last but not least, the Earthquaker Afterneath. It's your super versatile reverb pedal. Again, similar to some of what you can get out of the Carbon Copy. You can do that really tight kind of whispery reverb, and then it's just, I would say, like akin to the Canyons or something, where it's just super long reverb, and then it starts to go into loops and delays and kind of distortions as it starts to fall apart at the end of the signal. So it's a really cool, versatile pedal. I use it a handful like between songs. You can do the thing where you hit the delay right when you're done, and then hit the tuner to mute everything, and then it kind of streams off and gets all squealy and crazy, and then you pop this on, it does the same thing, and it gives you something between songs and lets you really just kind of avoid that dead silence, and it just sounds great. So yeah, that is my rig. Thank you.